Bridget and Tony DeBrain invited me to come to South Africa for their daughter Nikki's wedding, and Nikki showed me around the area which became Happy Homes.
Father Godwin saw these children living in poverty as a result of apartheid.
They were having school under a banyan tree with no protection from rain and no water of their own.
And they were hoping to raise funds to build a school for these young children. And we thought, boy, oh boy, we can do something about that. The children at the parish Episcopal school created artwork, which were then sold to raise money. They had a big map of Dallas and South Africa to show how far the money was going to go. The people of Transfiguration stepped up. It was 2003, and we had raised $70,000 to build these 2 little classrooms with a water tank for this little school in South Africa called Happy Homes. And that's how it started.
We were approaching our 50th anniversary here at the parish, and Ellen kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, do you want to help with this project of having this capstone event?
Ellen Dingwall was our Minister for Congregational Development. If a visitor walked through our doors, they were said to be Dingwalled, which meant that Ellen had grabbed hold of them, gotten their names, and welcomed them to the parish.
We got together to decide what we would do to celebrate our big anniversary. Coincidentally, and I always say this is a God thing, back in South Africa, Bishop Tutu and his wife Leah passed by our little school and saw a sign on the fence, funding given by Church of the Transfiguration, and he stopped and inquired as to why a church in Dallas, Texas was taking care of his beloved children.
So Ellen took a chance, and she had a dream bringing Desmond Tutu here. It was maybe a little too ambitious. How are we going to do this? You know, it's Desmond Tutu, you know, Nobel Peace Prize winner. He's going to come to Church of the Transfiguration and speak. You know.
Without Ellen and Bill Edwards and Bridget DeBrain, I don't think this would have happened. It had to be something that would attract him here, and it did. They did.
Ellen's brother Skip had a connection with the Tutu Foundation, and Bishop Tutu was already aware of Transfiguration's support of Happy Homes in South Africa, and so we were able to approach Bishop Tutu about coming to celebrate our anniversary, and they gladly accepted.
The first major hurdle was the huge amount of money required, but a couple wonderful, generous families came up with the money, and it just sort of snowballed.
Months and months of planning. There were so many people involved. Donna Miller of Miller Consulting put out the word through the media that Desmond Tutu was going to be speaking here. And so we started to think in terms of how big is this going to get?
This parish had taken some pretty bold steps to be inclusive. The ordination of women, first woman to be ordained priest in the diocese, was ordained right here in this very place. So we had a lot to celebrate around the time of our 50th anniversary.
When he first arrived, there was this line of kids and teenagers greeting him, and he just loved that. He got out and danced too along the way. They were singing and clapping, and he was dancing too. And it was like, I can't believe it, you know, it's happening.
And they flocked around him, and he was like he's in his second heaven.
Being with those children, he just lit up like a candle.
Everybody made their way through the shuttle system and gotten into the various venues, and they were seated. There was music before his talk was to start, and I vividly remember the tower bells rang. The hubbub, you know, all of this activity was just dying down, you know. The bells chimed, all's quiet, and Desmond Tutu walks out.
Dear friends, good evening. Oh dear. What's happened? I mean, I came 10,000 miles and you give me such a lousy response. Good evening.
Here is one of my heroes standing at our altar.
I have gifts that you don't have, and you have gifts that I don't have. And you can almost see God rubbing God's hands and saying, voila, Now that is why I created you different, so that you would know your need of one another. We are each God's gift to one another. Where others put up boundaries, Jesus is the one who knocks them down.
He had been aware that Transfiguration was working hard at being an inclusive parish.
All belong in this family. Gay, lesbian, so-called straight.
He ended up spreading his arms wide and saying, all.
You understand that? All. That there is no outsider. Everyone is an insider.
All.
God's children, my sisters and brothers, your sisters and brothers.
I'll never forget that moment.
Family. 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 We belong together.
The emotions were palpable in the parish at that time. I don't think anyone could have walked away from that evening without knowing and feeling that they had been about something big, bigger than themselves, and God-driven.
In 2018, we took a pilgrimage to South Africa. We now have 5 buildings there with close to 200 children, and Happy Homes is now the model for how other charities are building their schools. And Father Casey and the parishioners were able to meet Bishop Tutu in Cape Town and give him a big thanks for coming to Transfiguration for our 50th anniversary.
We were looking for someone who embodied our mission statement to seek and serve Christ in all persons. And he did, he is.
God's ways are more inclusive. Bishop Tutu lives on in the spirits and souls of all of us who continue to strive to be open and welcoming and accepting of people who are different from us. And his words of all continue to ring in the halls of this church. So he's alive here.